This month's Lucky Tackle Box theme was pre-spawn baits, where we included all the lures that you need to target these bass that are moving from their wintertime deep water hangouts and migrating up to those shallow waters where they're eventually gonna spawn. But first, they're gonna feed up, and having the right tools is essential. Hey guys, I'm Travis Moran, and you're watching another episode of Living Room to the Lake. And as you may have noticed already, I'm not in my actual living room. Once again this month, I'm in the mobile office. I'm in the moho on the road, but I gotta film a quick living room to lake here where we're gonna go through each one of the baits in the box. So hopefully you guys are sitting down in your living rooms or your man caves or your she sheds. I don't care, wherever you are, hopefully you're cozy and you've got your Lucky Tackle Box for this month as well. So you can follow along as we're gonna go through how to rig every one of these baits and then how you can use them to target pre-spawn bass. It's so important to know what these fish are doing this time of the year and then how to fish these lures to target those fish. And that's what this Lucky Tackle Box experience is all about. We are not only just including lures now, we are adding hooks, weights, line, different tools such as pliers and things that are gonna help you have all the right gear to go out and catch fish. So at the end of 2020, I promise you are gonna look back and go, wow, I not only now have all the gear I need to fish a full year of bass fishing, but because of the different content, because of how they put together these boxes with themes, they created videos, instructional, different teaching platforms to help me learn that you are now fully equipped to understand what the bass are doing and how to select the right lures to catch more of those fish. So, pre-spawn bass are moving from deep water to shallow. So you really need a wide variety of baits. You need some baits that you could target those fish that are just starting to look shallow but are still deep. And then you need some shallow water baits as well as those fish move shallow. So as we go through this box, we're gonna first start with some of these baits that can be fished a little bit deeper or to target a little bit those deeper fish. And then we're gonna move into these more shallow presentation baits. So let's dive right into it. All right, first bait is a soft plastic. Okay guys, when we're talking about pre-spawn, these fish, they're starting deep in wintertime and they're gonna slowly start to wanna feed. They're gonna slowly start moving up to some high percentage areas where they are going to feed up and start really looking to move shallow and migrate into their spawning areas. Having a little soft plastics, 4-inch worm from like this one from Great Lakes, watermelon purple flake, then paired up with the mustad little jig heads here is perfect for this. They're gonna be moving up onto these kind of little any kind of little rocky points, any little island tops and things at the mouths of big creeks and coves. And this is a perfect little bait, even if these fish aren't really feeding heavily just yet, having a little finesse presentation is gonna be the perfect way to catch them. Just hop this bait along the bottom. It looks real natural, a nice finesse approach. You're gonna catch fish that are just starting to feed all the way through when they're feeding. This is a bait that you're gonna be able to use all year long. It's gonna work as soon as your ice melts if you're up in the northern states. All right, what's next? Okay, when we're talking about these fish starting to make their migration from deep to shallow, even before they physically move shallow, they're gonna start orienting shallow. That's kind of a hard concept to understand, but the idea is that they're gonna be looking up into these shallow areas, they're gonna be moving onto some steeper bluffs and things like that. So a jerkbait excels this time of the year. Even if these fish, if it's clear enough water, if they're in 20, 30 feet deep, if they see that flash up in 5 to 7 feet of water, they'll come up and blast this thing. So even though this bait only dives about 4 or 5 feet, it can still be effective up to 30 feet depending on if you have enough clarity and stuff. So because these fish really want to move shallow. The other thing is, when you're using a jerkbait this time of the year, it can be all about longer pauses. So you jerk, and you let it pause. Sometimes you can let it pause for 10 seconds and those fish will come up and hit it. So that's why it's important to have a feather trailer hook or a feather back hook. So I replaced that back hook on the jerkbait with a little feather, and the reason being is when that bait is sitting still, this little feather hook is reflecting. It looks like a little tail of a fish that's still kind of moving a little bit. So as that fish is coming up from deeper, that little tail is shimming, doing a little shimmer to it, and it's looking natural and real. One of the other cool things that we included in this month's box was some Mustad split ring pliers. So these are to help you swap out your treble hooks a lot more efficiently. If you guys are screwing up your fingernails, getting poked with hooks, this is going to really be your best friend, and it's going to help you switch out hooks a lot more often, because when you do it by hand, it can be kind of a pain in the butt. When you have the split rings, you can do it very quickly, and it makes you a lot more likely to do so. So anyway, guys, this jerkbait, very effective. You want to fish these really in areas leading into spawning areas. So if you have some nice shallow water that gets a lot of sun throughout the day, that's where these fish are going to end up to spawn. So you want to back out of that and go, okay, where's some key structure or cover these fish are going to hang out at to feed up as they move in there. And if you can find a little steep bluff, a little island top you can cast this thing over, those fish might be a little bit deeper. They might not be right up on that island top. They might be around it. But as this thing comes over that island top, they're going to come up and blast it. Great bait. You can get a lot of results with this bait this time of year. All right, next. All right, now we're going to move shallow. These baits, the first few baits were to help us kind of target those fish as they're moving into these shallower areas, but eventually they're going to be in these areas to spawn. But before that, they start searching around, they start moving in the vegetation, they start moving along those shallow water, little riprap banks and things, and having baits that you can fish along those is crucial to catching these active fish. So first up is a square bill, a red square bill. So important this time of the year. Fish love the color red because it actually helps their eggs. So when a female lays all these eggs, if they eat a lot of crawdads, it actually helps with the consistency of the shell. So the more crawdads they eat, the better the chance of their eggs surviving and hatching and the survival of their species. So this time of the year, they hone in on red, and so you want to make sure you're throwing something red. In a little square bill, you bang this around the rocks, you can really cover a lot of shallow water because that little square bill protects those hooks, so you can bang it off wood, rocks, and really work it in a lot of different areas. All right, next up is another soft plastic. Guys, this is a fantastic technique that they absolutely love this time of the year out in Florida. They call this the Florida swim bait, and it's a speed worm. This is a Producto Lures little speed worm here, and the way you rig it up is actually from last month's box. We included some 4/0 wide gap hooks with some little bullet weights. And so what you want to do is just rig it up with one of these little 1/4 ounce bullet weight, one of these hooks, rig it up Texas rig, and you're just going to cast and you actually swim this bait, okay? A lot of times we're just hopping worms or moving them real slow. This one you throw through the different vegetations. It excels around lily pads. You can throw it right through the lily pads and it just kind of swims. It ticks off those little lily pads. But you can throw it through tules. You can throw it through different types of vegetation and really find those fish that have moved up shallow. The other thing is you can slow this bait down as well. If you want to let this bait fall and hop it along the bottom, it can excel at that. A little tail will wiggle on the way down and it actually floats, so it'll sit upwards, and so you can really entice those fish. A very effective tool to have as you search out all the different water that's up shallow. You've got the square bill to fish the kind of more rocky, woody stuff, and then you've got the worm to fish the more vegetation, the more thicker stuff that you're not really you're gonna have to have a weedless presentation for. All right, guys, well, that does it for this month's breakdown. One last note, the Mustad split ring pliers that we included in the Bass XL boxes, Mustad was so excited about this full experience we're now bringing to Lucky Tackle Box that they said they wanted to send more so that they could be included in the regular Bass box as well. So all you regular Bass box subscribers, you got a bonus tool this month of the Mustad pliers, thanks to Mustad. Well, guys, you're now equipped to fish for these pre-spawn bass. No matter where you are in the country, as you come out of winter time, these fish are going to go through very similar migrations. And you now have the baits to figure out the little different nuances that apply to your local water. But I promise you, these baits will help you target those fish. I cannot wait to hear about it. And if you have any questions, make sure you write them in the comments below. I'll go over them the next few days and answer them so you guys can really understand these baits that much more and have a better chance of going out and catching fish. Also, make sure you hashtag Lucky Tackle Box in all your social media posts so that we can follow along in your adventures. Guys, I'm Travis Moran, and I'm dragging everything with me. and I will catch you out on the water.